Hello, I'm Ritchie Knox, and you're tuned in to Virtuous Teacher. Thank you for clicking on this episode. And yes, in this episode, we'll be talking about how to avoid burnout. That's right. Now, before we jump into the conversation, please check out the descriptions area for ways to support me and my initiatives. I certainly appreciate it. Of course, you have to check out that new Virtuous Teacher t-shirt at my t-shirt shop, bhshirts.com. That's right. Or you can email me at merch@virtuousteacher.com. That's right. But let's talk about how to avoid burnout. And I think it's only right that we quickly discuss what burnout is. Have you ever seen a teacher say, hey, we're down to 48 days, 2 hours and 33 minutes? You ever had that happen where, teachers start to count the, end of the year, and it's usually sometime in March or something like that. It's like when you got 2 more months left in the school year, that conversation starts to pop up. Oh, we're almost there. That type of thing. Burnout is just getting exhausted. Exhaustion is what we would call burnout. And I would like to talk about some tactics to avoid it. Usually towards the end of the school year, sometime in June, I'll ask myself, could I do this job at least 2 or 3 more months? And the answer is typically yes. Like, okay, I still have enough in the tank that if the school year kept going, I could continue to do it. And that is how I know that I'm right where I need to be in terms of avoiding burnout. But here we go. Here are some tactics on how to do that. Number 1, understand your role. Know what you're responsible for and what you're not. One of the best things you can do is understanding your job. When you're trying to get a job, I think it's a really good practice to look at the description of what that job entails. All right. If you're looking at a job posting somewhere, look at what you have to do in order to sustain that job. And, I think once you get a job, you kind of forget that little description, a little paragraph, because you get pulled in so many different directions. But it's very important to understand what your job is. What is your job title? What is your role? What are you responsible for? And keeping that in mind helps you to keep your actual job in focus. And it contributes to my second point, which is do your job. Emphasis on your, okay? Don't get caught into the riffraff where you're doing other people's job, or you're trying to, have people look at you positively. So you're volunteering for all these different things. You're staying after for long hours, doing somebody else's work. No, know your job, understand your role, and only do your job until you get to a space where you have that extra, surplus of energy, or shall I say, gas to keep going. All right. But you can run out of gas doing so many different jobs. And a lot of times those jobs are not even yours. You should never feel bad. And I'm going to push back on this because I know somebody's going to say, you don't want to be a person that just does your job. You want to go above and beyond. I'm going to push back on it because I do slightly agree. I think if you have enough in the tank, if you, you feel good, you're feeling like you can handle that type of workload, by all means, pitch in and help wherever you can. But this video is not about that, is it? It's about avoiding burnout. So if you're feeling like you're getting burned out, then do your job, all right? Doing the job of others contributes to burnout. If everyone just did their job, everything would be fine. Imagine if you were a part of an organization where everybody did their job. Wouldn't the job for everyone be easier? But what happens is you have people who slack off, who don't come to work, who don't do the best job that they can doing their job, and it causes others to have to lean in and do the job for them. But if everyone did their job, then the job would do itself. That's the problem. So I think that, it's worth emphasizing that if you would like to avoid burnout, understand your role and do it to the best, do it to the highest capacity possible. All right. But you have to understand what the role is first. I think that's important. Next, never take work home. Never. And I do mean never. Emphasis on never. As teachers, we get caught up correcting behaviors and doing all these different things that by the time 2:30, 3 o'clock rolls around, you still have a pile of papers you haven't graded and you take it home. That's the worst thing you can do if you're trying to avoid burnout. You leave that paper right on that desk because guess what? That work is not going anywhere. You leave it right there. Do all work at work. That's my favorite thing about my job. I love that when I'm working, I'm on the clock and I'm getting paid for it. And it kind of mitigates a lot of the stress and burnout because, like, you know what? I am kind of tired, but you know what? They're paying me to be tired, and that's good. But they're not paying me overtime to take work home, which is why you should never do it. If you don't finish something at work, leave it and come back to it. Okay, leave it and come back to it. And of course, if you have like a deadline that you know is the next day, this wouldn't apply to you. But the bigger point is, if you know your role and you're doing your job to the best of your capacity, you won't even reach deadlines. Soon as things come up through your pipeline, you're taking care of them. You want to know why? Because you're not taking care of other people's job. You only know and are responsible for your job. And as things come up, you get them done immediately, which is another way to avoid burnout. Don't wait for things to happen or deadlines to come. If your principal emails you and say, I need this by this or that date, get it done immediately. And you should have the bandwidth and the time to do it because you're not doing other people's job. All right, that's what I think. All right, next, be water, my friends. Be water. And I want to break this down just a little bit because I was at this retirement party for some gentleman. Don't quote me on this guy. I don't know his name at all. But he said something that changed my perspective about work. He had put in maybe 35 years in his position. And at the end, he said, you know what? I didn't do anything at all. I know it looks like I did a lot. I was here for 30 years, but I didn't do anything at all. He said, you know what I want you to do next time you think you're doing a lot? Take your wrist and splash it all in the water and just, get the water all, riff-raffy, just splash it and then take your arm out. And you'll notice that water goes right back to calm. So no matter how much you do, at the end of the day, the job is going to retract back to its normal state. And it changed my perspective on everything. No amount of extra work will matter in T-minus 2 weeks. So you're thinking you're doing all this, you're grabbing kids' hoodies and you're grabbing this and you're taking cell phones and you're burning yourself out. That's all you're doing. And in 1 year, 2 weeks probably. I'm gonna give you 1 year. In 1 year's time, it'll be a whole new group of students who've never seen you working a day in their life. So it's almost like you did nothing at all. One of the most depleting things that can happen is you going above and beyond at a school, taking hoodies, telling people to tuck their shirt in 7,000 times a day, taking, cell phones, doing all this crazy stuff. You're going above and beyond. You're feeling good about yourself. And then the next year, it all has to reset. And nobody that comes into the school knows anything about what you did the year prior. So you have to prove everything all over again. It sucks, don't it? It's like splashing your arm in water, thinking you're really making an impact. And then you take your arm out and the water retracts back to normal. That's what this is. So be water, my friend. Be water. All right. You don't want to, put yourself in a situation where you're going above and beyond to the detriment of your fuel tank. You know what I mean? Like, of course, if you can make sustainable change, like perhaps the shape of the bowl the water is in, because that keeps it changed. That's another analogy. Then so be it. But if you know that me doing this is probably not going to matter in 2 weeks, there you go. And I'll prove to you that it doesn't matter. All right. What were you doing 2 weeks ago today? Don't look at the calendar either, because I just want you to know. All right, you probably don't know because 2 weeks ago, you're just doing stuff. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, a lot of the stuff that you do won't even be remembered. Does that make sense? So don't burn yourself out trying to get it, just right, just perfect, doing it. Just relax, take it easy. All right, and I think that brings me to another point. Don't lose your cool over something you won't remember. All right. Don't get too upset when a kid is off task or something happens that you didn't expect. Don't lose your cool so much that you spin out. I think the young kids call it crash out. Don't crash out over anything because a lot of this stuff won't matter in the grand scheme of things. Does it matter in the day-to-day? Yes. But in the grand scheme of a school year, a lot of the things that happen in a single day won't matter at all. And that is the sad truth. All right. We do a lot of work as educators, but in the grand scheme of things, a lot of times the itsy bitsy detaily type of stuff just won't matter in the grand scheme. A great example of that is one year I had 3 principals in a single year. And then there was even one point where we didn't have a principal at all. You know what happened to the school? It kept going. You see what I'm saying? So, the school is going to move. All right. It's like a headless zombie. Yes, it does function better when it has a head. But if it doesn't have a head, let me tell you, that school is going to continue to travel and continue to move. You want to know why? Because time doesn't stop. All right. I don't care what you're doing. Time is moving. And therefore, you don't have time to, analyze or overthink things. I hope this is making sense. I really feel like it does. All right, next. Pick up hobbies that have nothing to do with teaching. When you get off work, leave everything work related there. You want to do the exact opposite of what I'm doing right now. Okay? Because I'm at home and guess what I'm doing? I'm talking about freaking teaching, for crying out loud. I don't know. I didn't get the memo, so I'm still talking about teaching. I'm still thinking teaching for some reason. But the bigger point is you want to take up hobbies that have nothing to do with education when 3 o'clock rolls around and you want to leave. All right. You want to leave. Unless you are someone who just needs that extra money and you just need that extra, the extra feel good dopamine rush from helping kids after 5 o'clock, go for it. Be my guest. But I'm telling you right now, if you're feeling burned out, you need to leave that job where it's at, all right? And come back tomorrow refreshed, all right? Some things you can do: movies, dates, writing, gaming. It's a lot of different options out there. Walking. One of my favorite ones is exercising. That is building your self-esteem through, your physical excellence. These are things that are amazing, okay? Try them out. Next, learn to go, what is this? Oh, I like this one. Learn to go in your homeroom, I should say, and close the door. Sometimes, when you're available, when you're walking the hall, someone can see you and say, hey, you know what? I got a job for you. Look, you have to learn how to go into your classroom. I'm not sure where I put home, but I'll just say classroom. Go into your homeroom, classroom, close that door, lower those blinds just enough where people have to bend down to see if you're in there. Okay, let me tell you. You got to learn how to do it. It's a beautiful thing. And if you're really like me, turn your lights off. That way you can have some peace during your planning periods, things like that, during your lunch. Sometimes a kid can see you. Hey, Mr. Knox, I got some homework to get. Well, not today, not right now. So learn how to cut the school off when you are legally able to, all right? Your lunch period, your prep period. When you have those periods, don't go to your best friend's classroom or this person's classroom or walk in the hall. Find you a quiet place and just mellow out. Close the door, lower the blinds. Turn the lights off. Do what you have to do just to get yourself reset. That way you're resetting in the midst of the day. That's a real tip for you right there. Okay? And decompress. That's what I want you to do. When you do all that, close that door, yes, decompress. That's your time. People forget I'm at work sometimes. It's funny. Sometimes I'll run into somebody, they'll say, I forgot you even worked here. I'm like, you know what? That's because I'm hiding in my turtle shell, aka my classroom, my homeroom, all right? So yes, it has actually happened where people have seen me after maybe a month or two and said, I forgot you worked here, Knox. Yeah, I still work here. You just won't be able to find me, all right? Because I'm hiding after I, teach my classes. I teach the heck out of my classes. Well, let me tell you, I take the heck out of my breaks too, all right? I don't play hard, work hard. I work hard and just relax. I don't play, all right? I work my butt off when it comes to teaching. I deliver my lessons and stuff like that. But on my prep, on my lunch, that's my time, and I'm going to take my time to recuperate so that I'm prepared to continue my work. All right. Next, don't take things so personal, man. Burnout happens when you exert energy. Is that a fair thing to say? When you're going off on a student or you're taking something that an employee or a coworker said to heart. I mean, these things can drain you emotionally, all right? And what I would say is don't take anything too personal. Why? Because, look, these small, itsy-bitsy details won't matter in the grand scheme of things. When the school year is over, you'll be hard-pressed to remember what Johnny said to you, what Cynthia said to you. It'll be very difficult for you to remember. So try your best to keep everything within context. Look, this is a moment in time that I'm going to forget. And, I can tell you right now, I'm in year 13, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, there's been a ton of things that have happened over the last 12 years. But let me tell you, I don't remember any of them right now. Right now, I don't remember. I don't remember many of them. There are some milestone moments of things that have taken place. But if you told me I needed to answer, or I should say, recall 20 minor incidences from my own life, and let's just say for the sake of argument, you gave me multiple choice, like, hey, Mr. Knox, on March 22nd, 2014, you were in your second year of teaching. What did little Brian say to you on a Thursday? Is it A, you're a pinhead, B, he didn't say anything at all, or C, he said you were the greatest teacher ever? I wouldn't know the answer. That's what I'm explaining to you. I wouldn't know the answer. So to that I say, don't take things too personal, because oftentimes it won't matter. I said that. All right, next. Remember the money. This is the last one I'll put out here. Please don't forget that you get paid. So when you're feeling burned out, you're feeling like, you know what, I can't go any further. Just remember that green dollar, because that will motivate just about anybody. You know what, I'm going to continue working hard because this is the job that pays my bills. That is how I avoid burnout quite often. All right. And even if you don't think of, your work that way, trust me, come Friday, you'll feel that nice surge, that nice rush when you look on your bank account, and you'll get a slight refresh. It's almost like you press a little button on your back, like, you know what, I'm okay with this job. Okay, because you get to go shopping, buy food, pay your bills. That's a great feeling. And you want to weaponize that feeling in a way to avoid burnout. Make sense? Now, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and certainly if you did, I would like reviews and likes and all the other cool stuff that you are supposed to do when you like content. But with that being said, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.